Hello and welcome. We've got an exciting show today. So for the first time in probably over 2 years, actually, since our last show with Buck, we've got somebody on from the DECRED'S project to talk all about the exciting stuff that's happening. Martone is one of the main guys behind the Mesh Network, which I should probably call it Tatanka actually, or Tatanka Mesh, but it's looking awesome. And we're going to try and go through all of these kind of aspects and where it's at and how it's developing and the trade-offs and all the rest of it. We'll try and dig deep into all that stuff. But before we go into that, how you doing, Nexus? How you doing, Martone?
I'm doing good.
I'm all good.
Fantastic. Now, I expect we're going to have loads and loads of people on the in the comment section wanting to ask questions. So if you have any questions, post them away. Exodus will be monitoring it, and we'll try and get those asked to Martone as we go through it. But it'd be great for you guys to kind of chip in there anyway. So before we get started, because this is the first interview we've done with you. And like I say, we haven't had an interview with DECRED'S guys, so it's going to be exciting. Lots of people are raring to hear what's going on. But before we get into that, can you give us just a brief overview of yourself and what you do for DCRED?
Yeah, so I guess I started out working a little bit part-time on the Politeia back in the day, just trying it out, and then I saw the DECRED'S, but then I still had another job. But the DECRED'S was very interesting, and eventually when I quit my job, I started working on the full-time on the DECRED'S, and so it's been about maybe 4 years. So just developing, starting out with all the different aspects, just chipping in, and then I worked a lot on the market maker stuff, and then now working on the mesh.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a mountain of questions. I hadn't realized that you had been a part of the Politeia stuff early in the day, so that's
not
really
much,
exciting.
just very little bit. I just helped out a little bit. That's when I first found out about DCRED.
Yeah, and that's the best way to get involved, isn't it? And I love it. I love working for open source projects, and we were talking before the show that Martone and myself we probably joined roughly the same time, probably about 4, almost 5 years ago, which is absolutely, it's just brilliant. It's a brilliant place it's a brilliant community to be involved in. So let's just chip straight in. So obviously we want to talk about the market makers. We'll talk, but I want to mainly just focus on how Mesh is going and kind of how we're going on. So the first question here is what was the core motivations behind building Tatanka Mesh? What limitations are there? And kind of what's the infrastructure solve going forward?
Well, so now we have the DCR DECRED'S server. That's what everybody's using, and DCR DECRED'S server is just one node, one program, and everybody connects to this one program. And so obviously if it goes down, then the whole trading is down. And actually requirements of running the DCR DECRED'S server is quite high, because you need like full node for every single asset that's trading on the mesh network. And also, if you're running a DCR DECRED'S server, you're actually running a exchange. So, which is, potentially have some regulatory problem. Somebody could come after you. Why are you running an exchange? This kind of stuff. So with Tatanka Mesh, basically all these issues are solved. So Tatanka Mesh isn't actually an exchange. It's a messaging platform. So you can basically broadcast messages to other people who are listening, and then also connect to another peer directly and do encrypted communication. And then the other two main aspects are reputation and then the fidelity bonds. So fidelity bonds we already have right now. If you're required to post a fidelity bond, you can't just make a bunch of accounts. And then reputation, we already basically have that, but it has to change. So the advantages are now we have multiple Tatanka Mesh nodes. So if one goes down, everybody just switch to the other ones, and everything continues totally fine. And another advantage is obviously, this is not an exchange. So if you're running a Tatanka Mesh node, nobody can say anything. I'm just doing chat application with a broadcast. peer-to-peer chat. It's not an exchange. And finally, because the Tatanka mesh nodes don't actually listen to the transactions, they don't know the swap transactions that are happening. So actually, any asset can be traded. So you don't even assets that the mesh nodes don't even know about. You can just, as long as you have a wallet that can talk to the mesh and do the swaps, they can just do trading. So, you know, adding new assets is super easy because you just need the wallet. You don't need to update the server anymore.
That was my next question. So at the moment, like you said, it's a centralized server node at the minute. And in order to run a pair, you have to run the full node of that coin. So when you run a Tatanka node, so you can just run the wallet without having to run the full node. Is that correct, or am I misunderstanding?
Well, Tatanka node. Well, there's actually, because in the first implementation now, there's basically two different kinds of participant in the mesh network. So the core part of the mesh network is a permission nodes. So not everybody can run those. This makes it easier to implement at first because there's many situations we would have to handle if anybody can just join. But so there's those permission ones, and they just basically help pass the messages around efficiently. And everybody, all the clients, connect to just one of the nodes, and if they'll just be able to discover all the other ones, and if something's going wrong with one, they just switch to another one. So yeah, so the wallet basically can run just like now, SPV node, SPV wallet, and as long as they can conduct an atomic swap on whatever asset, they can use the mesh to find each other and just do the swap.
So the client node can just run SPV. So I mean, the other. Maybe I'm just jumping a little bit ahead, so I'll step back a little bit. But so the requirements for running a peer node or the mesh node, which is the main replacer for the server, is pretty much still the same. So you've still got to run the full node for each.
No.
No. Oh, okay.
You don't need to run it because these nodes aren't actually tracking the swap. The only reason you need these nodes have to communicate with the blockchain is for the fidelity bonds. But other than that, they're just passing the messages around, and then the order book gets created on the client side. So these nodes don't even know that there's a order book happening or any trading happening. The order book gets created on the client side, and then when there's a match, actually the communication to handle the swap, most of the time probably it can actually go directly between the two peers. If there's some limitation situation, then the mesh nodes will relay an encrypted message. So yeah, they don't even necessarily know that swaps are happening.
So let's just take an instance, because this is blowing my mind actually. So I could be on Decred and I want to swap, I said Decred to Pharaoh, for instance. Then one of the mesh nodes, the ones replacing the server, they don't need to know anything about them, but they will communicate between the two client nodes. They don't need to run a full node like they're currently doing. They just literally communicating between those two clients. Is that correct?
Yeah, so
that sounds awesome.
Like the market will be a topic that you subscribe to. So basically, I mean, this is actually not what the proposal I'm working on right now will handle. That's the applications proposal. But so the exact detail of this is not done yet. But basically, there will be, let's say, a topic. It's called market DCR Firo. Okay. And then there's a protocol that the two clients all the clients who are part of this market understand. So maybe I can post limit order, whatever. I want to buy DCR with Firo for whatever rate, and maybe some other information. And then, but the Tatanka node server doesn't understand that message. They just receive it, and then distribute among all the other Tatanka nodes, and then each Tatanka node sends it to the clients who are subscribed to DCR Firo, right?
Yeah, so to that topic, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
so basically the actual. I keep getting this wrong. Let's call that server Tatanka mesh node. So it's
Tatanka
going to be
node, yeah.
Tatanka node. So it's going to be super lightweight, like so much more lightweight than what the current server is. See, I hadn't realized that. That's incredible.
I mean, just because they don't have to run all the full nodes, so that's why it's much more easy to run. Yeah.
Yeah, and so let's talk about the client. So, for instance, at the moment, I mean, we're having a hell of a time with getting people on SPVs as a client node or downloading, say, Pharaoh's full node. Is it going to be a requirement for those Tatanka mesh clients to run SPV, or will they be able to run like the Polygon RPC type wallets?
I mean, that the wallets don't need to change for this to work. They just stay, or add new ones, whatever.
Sorry, I'm just trying to get my head around it because I hadn't understood that at all, actually. So that's incredible. Exus, while I think about this, have you got any questions about that?
No, the mesh stuff is a little bit over my head personally. I'm kind of a hands-on learner a bit, but it is good to know that you said that now the server has to run full nodes for all the different assets, but you said with the mesh, you don't need to run full. Is there a reason for that specifically?
Yeah, because the Tatanka mesh nodes won't need to like check anything. Because right now, when you do a swap, right? So we've matched DCR Firo, and then now it's time to do atomic swap. And then the first thing you do is the first guy who's the maker right now, he will have to do the swap transaction. The locking transaction, which is the first step of the atomic swap. And then once he makes that transaction, he sends the transaction ID to the server, and the server makes sure, checks that this transaction is there, and then relays that to the other guy. So right now, the server knows about every transaction that's going into a swap. And also the server is like checking that you have to report, like when you do a order on the DEX right now, you have to say I have this funds in my wallet. So you're revealing what funds you have, you're revealing what you're swapping to who, and all these things are going through this server. And now we have the mesh nodes don't need to do this because all the exchange logic is taken out of the server and moved to the wallet, to the client.
So basically, you're making it so the requirements to run one of these mesh nodes is quite low from what you're saying. I recall asking you on Politeia, did you say it was an SPV node or a full node for Decred?
What do you mean?
Like, say I wanted to run a mesh node.
Oh, well, the only reason you need to run connect to any blockchain with the Tatanka nodes is to verify the fidelity bonds. So, I mean, we that part isn't done yet, but I think it wouldn't necessarily require the full node. So we still have to work that out. But the only reason you need to talk to the blockchain with this is just to verify fidelity bond.
Yeah, I mean that's incredible. So it's just making it more peer to peer. So you're basically also private as well. I mean, ridiculously private, I should imagine. Just out of interest, why? What's the thinking behind limiting the Tatanka mesh nodes? Is that going to be a permanent feature, or is that just whilst it's being developed?
What do you mean by limiting?
So you said at the beginning that we're only going to have just a few Tatanka mesh nodes. It's not going to be open to everyone. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not, because it's much easier to develop like this. And actually, you don't really need that many at first. I mean, especially, if users grow so much, then obviously we'll add more, but eventually, I mean, obviously it is limiting that only a few permission nodes can join, and that adds some sense of centralized point of failure. And in the long term, maybe it can be fully decentralized. But for now, I think this is a big improvement over what we have. And, we'll get this working and then see where we can go from there.
Yeah, I mean, I like the tentative steps, really. So you know who the nodes are initially, so you can just kind of make sure everything's working. Yeah, I like the way that works. Hopefully I don't double myself, go over too much doubling up, but if I am, you just tell me to kind of move on. But
Okay.
one of the things about the messaging service that it says in the proposal is that you guys are going to be able to offer different services. Obviously, Atomic Swaps is the first messaging service, as we just discussed there, that the Sanka Mesh node is just going to be coordinating those messages. The next one was Decred ticket splitting. How will that work, and what other apps do you see going forward? If you're allowed to talk about that.
Well, I mean, this is just an idea at this point. This is something else it can be used for. But just like with Atomic Swap, basically, you just want to find somebody else who wants to trade with you. And then with ticket splitting, you just want to find somebody else who wants to split the ticket with you. So just like with the markets for the Atomic Swap DEX, you're posting messages, and then through these messages you find the counterparty. We can also do the same thing with ticket splitting. People, maybe there could be ticket splitting market maker, and then they post like what interest rate they want to sell smaller tickets for. But this is not planned out yet. This is just an idea. So it's much more extensible than one specific. But even the extensibility is not the original point of this, but this is something that can be done as, it could be pretty cool and useful.
I can see this as being a coordinator for a whole magnitude of markets, to be fair, the way that you can kind of just lock in certain parameters. And I mean, just seems absolutely phenomenal. Like I say, I'm still absorbing that because I hadn't really understood that was the actual case. So that's amazing. Just one more then. So what other kind of, have you got anything specific that you are thinking about that might be an application on top of this that you would like to see other than ticket
Not
splitting?
yet. I mean, right now just work on the DEX. So basically.
Great.
Yeah,
stuff.
you guys have a lot under your belt right now with the XMR work, the arbitrage bots, the mesh. I believe you're making an Electrum client in Go to have Firo into these other coins, so it's like one-click button in the wallet, so they can just get up and running. Because the whole RPC thing connecting to other wallets, just isn't working. So yeah, there's a lot going on with the DEX work. It must be Is it difficult to try to handle all these different things?
Yeah, I mean, it's there's a lot of different things working on. It's just keep working, and things will be released, and good things will happen.
Have you guys looked into adding like hardware wallets to Bison wallets, say Trezor or Ledger?
Well, it's not really on the current proposals. I mean, it's something that it would be nice, but it's a little bit tough. I mean, it'd be nice, but it's a little bit tough to do the atomic swaps with the hardware wallet, because you'd have to like be clicking for each of the transactions.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. Got
and also,
it.
like, it's kind of hard to get them. I mean, I think these would be like different. I mean, I haven't implemented any hardware wallets, but I know it's hard to get the. I mean, we had a PR for the Trezor wallet to upgrade something with Decred, and it's been years and they don't upgrade it. So it's kind of tough with the hardware wallets.
We've got a question from Max. Can you explain what fidelity bonds are, or bots are, for those outside of the dev ecosystem? So that's two questions. I imagine it's market maker bots and fidelity bonds.
So fidelity bond is is a way in which you can lock up some funds on the blockchain, and basically, and the locked funds are associated with some certain data, which is right now is your public key for the DEX. So you've locked up, let's say the DEX requires you to lock up one DCR to interact with it, and then you can get those funds back after a certain amount of time. So you lock it and associate it with your public key, and you can get it back within 60 days or whatever. And then if you misbehave on the DEX, then your reputation gets hit. And so you can't, it's a Sybil protection mechanism. So you can't keep on making different accounts, because each account costs you money, like temporarily. Yeah. Is that clear?
I think, yeah, definitely. I think the bond is such a necessary thing in a peer-to-peer market, isn't it? Just to try and protect against people that maybe start an order and then just kind of abandon that order. To know that there is a penalty, and that's one question I'm not actually 100% sure about, is if you get a penalty and you go down to zero or whatever, what actually happens to that bond?
Well, the bond is, you still get it back, because the bond is all the bond is it's a transaction where you lock the funds for a certain amount of days and then you get it back after. That's all it means.
I thought if you did a bunch of bad trades and your account went to negative, you just lose the money. I thought that was the whole point of it. So you act, you play fair and you get the money back eventually. But if you're a bad actor, you lose that Decred or Litecoin or whatever.
No, because that's not how it works. Because the activity on the DEX doesn't relate to what's happening on the blockchain. There's no way to prove on the blockchain that you misbehaved on the DEX.
It's
I understand.
Yeah, because I thought exactly the same as Exodus actually. But it's a nice way of actually saying no. Now you've got to wait 30 days for that bond to come back, and you're restricted from trading. Is that correct?
Yeah, because what if I need to lock up money every time I misbehave on the DEX, then eventually it adds up. So it's a disincentive, but it's not something where you lose money. Yeah.
I'm glad you clarified that actually, because originally that was what I thought happened. I thought, if you went to zero, God, you've lost your money. So yeah, thanks for clearing that one up. Anything else you want to add there, Exodus?
Sorry, I was going to bring up my share screen and we can show people what this looks like. Yeah. So this is you can pay more money at any time to increase the bond. You can pay in Litecoin or Decred, and it's only about 0.1 Decred, which is like $3.60. And obviously it explains here, what is a bond. So if you're curious, just, click around in the wallet and you'll find this section.
Does not explain clearly that you get it back, or maybe.
I
think that was just me guessing that's how it worked, but yeah,
same as though I thought exactly the same. So I don't know if it is clear that you get it back actually, because I always thought exactly the same as you, that if that bond went to zero, because I was very conscious of that. Oh God, if one of my markets crashes out, then I'm gonna lose me 0.1 Decred.
So is the bond continuing in the mesh network?
I think it has to, though, doesn't it?
Hello?
Oh, we've lost you back. Yeah. I was saying that I think it has to, doesn't it? The bond has to continue. Otherwise, how are you going to prevent bad behavior? Is there another mechanism?
No, it's still the bonds. The bonds were created in mind for the mesh, but it's been a long time. But that was the original purpose. So you don't have access to the mesh network if you don't have a bond posted, basically. So the first thing when you connect, the first thing you have to do is say which bonds you have posted.
Okay. So the user experience with the mesh network is going to be largely pretty much the same as it is now for just the average user, someone not running a node who just comes along and wants to do some trades. Would you say it's going to be relatively similar or maybe the exact same?
It's going to be relatively similar, but I mean, it's going to be more reliable, and then we can add more assets in the future more easily, because the only thing you need to change is the wallet to add an asset, not the server.
So, in the future, would say we wanted a Zcash, some Zcash markets, would those users have to run Zcash full nodes, or is that changing?
Well, Zcash, currently we have the full node only because that was the easiest to implement. There's no Go light client for Zcash. So, I mean, to make Zcash work as a light client, I mean, that's just work that has to be done. And it's probably not like super simple work. So, I mean, we'd have to get funding or something for that.
Right. Okay.
I mean, how hard would it be to? Because myself and X has been talking about this both live and in public. I mean, how hard would it be to get some of these projects? Because obviously, people come across the platform. Oh, can we list this? Can we list X? Can we list Y and Z? How hard would it be to get like an RPC kind of node up, like what the Polygon guys use, so that that can be quickly kind of listed? Or is that not really? Are we preferring to go down the SPV route and the full node route?
Well, I mean, to get it listed at this, like with the infrastructure we're building with this mesh network, listing an asset, you don't have to list an asset. You can have any market that you want. So that whole part goes away. It's just that you need a wallet that can talk to the mesh. I mean, a wallet that basically you need a software that talks to the mesh to create the order book, and also a wallet that does the atomic swaps. So, if somebody were to fork the Bison wallet or anything and then just add a wallet for another asset, they could immediately have markets. So the integration cost is much easier after the Tatanka mesh goes up.
Oh, cool. I was just thinking about from a client perspective, to make it just that much easier to kind of run. I was just wondering how hard it would be to, because obviously most people are quite familiar with using Binance Wallet or Trust Wallet or Exodus Wallet, and in all of those, it's basically using, oh God, what does Jay-Z call it? There's an implementation, crypto something, where they're basically, it's basically just referencing the blockchain rather than having a trustless peer. Is that a possibility, or is that kind of not an area that we're kind of willing to go down?
I mean, everything is possible.
Yeah, I mean, people are so used to the easy stuff, aren't they? They go to their Exodus wallet or their Trust wallet or Cake wallet, and they click on it, and it, especially like Litecoin, it's just there. Whereas when they come to buy some wallet and they go, okay, I have a Litecoin wallet, and then they have to kind of sync it, although it does sync really quickly. People want that, and I just think to myself, you know what? If it's down to us building their privacy and their security, it's kind of, it should really be them funding it. But if it's a matter of us kind of like, okay, they're already on this platform and we can use this structure to kind of get them onto to buy some wallet with a little message that says, hey, this isn't as secure as X, Y, and Z, or the SPV or a full node, I just think, that might just be a way around that. So they get their user experience, but they understand that it doesn't have the same security levels.
Well, I mean, the light wallets, what problem do you have with the light wallets? Because if they sync fast, then
well, I don't. I mean,
so what do you think is the main? I mean,
yeah,
the UI maybe should be made simpler, and that's something that Buck's been talking about and he wants to do. But I think light clients and light wallets in general are pretty nice.
Well, the perfect example of how I think most people want it to be used is the Polygon wallet, where you literally just click it and it's boom. Whereas but obviously that doesn't offer you the best security, the best privacy like our SPV does. But the user benefit, which most people are like, oh, I want it to be fast, I want it to install fast or whatever. Whereas Decred 7 minutes is fast, I think, but most people, even that's too much for them, you know. And that's all I'm thinking about
Well, the thing
is there
about
a way?
Polygon, go ahead.
Go on.
Well, the thing about Polygon is there's these companies that are hosting free RPC endpoints, and that's why we just use those. But are there companies hosting free RPC endpoints for the other coins? I don't think so. That's because that's the way you generally use Ethereum and these chains, is people just connect to somebody else's. There's no light clients really.
I guess that's what they mean, really. So, like, say you have these, you're just connecting straight to, you're just connecting straight to the endpoint, and you know, I don't know. It's just off the top of my hat, and I think we talked about this at least a year ago, where you kind of just say, look, you know, you have a mechanism that says this wallet is you know, this scale of security or whatever, but it's not necessarily the way that I would want it to go, but I definitely think when you're looking at new users, they love the experience of the Polygon wallet, where you just click it and it's just set up without all the wait time.
I think the SPV wallets are really good in Bison Wallet. The issue is, like I said, you know, if you want to run a Zcash market or Firo, you have to do this weird connect to an external wallet, and you have to have some IT skills to be able to go and edit a config. I think that is just totally unrealistic, and I would like to see us move away from that.
Electrum wallets would be nice, because the Electrum wallet is, if we get a built-in Electrum wallet into the software, in that case, it's very easy to connect. Because the problem with these like RPC wallets, the RPC wallet built in would mean that you have some hard-coded RPC endpoint that somebody's hosting that all the wallets connect to. And with Polygon, people are doing that and hosting free ones. But if there's no free one, then somebody would have to host it. Would it be, you know, would Bison Wallet host some servers that all the wallets can connect to, or something? I don't know.
Might be a bit too much,
yeah,
but
yeah,
I can tell you that Dev Warrior is in.
Sorry.
Dev Warrior is in the chat. He's just gone boom when you said Electrum wallet, so I think he agrees.
Well, the Firo Electrum client works really well. I use it, but it's just the process of, like I said, knowing how to do the RPC and setting it up is really kind of painful. So yeah, if there was just a one-click button in the wallet to make an Electrum wallet inside the wallet, that would be nice. And I know the Firo guys have been trying to make the markets to have that be a realistic pair that people can actually use, which is good. Should we shift to the market making stuff now? Is that a good segue?
Sure. Yeah. Give me one second.
I don't know if you have any more questions about. Yeah, this is my Firo wallet. Did it go away?
I'll put it back up. The only thing I was going to ask about was the security of the mesh network, but I think Martone has pretty much answered all my questions in a roundabout fashion. If there's anything you want to add that we might have missed, Martone, please feel free to go there. But other than that, I'm happy to move on to the market maker bots.
Yeah, I guess one other thing, like, you know, right now in the Bison wallet, we have these fiat rate endpoints that you have to select, and it connects to Coin Paprika or some of these ones, and it's not the best user experience, and also, you know, they're not, so you can't make so many requests to them because these free tier APIs are limited. So this is something that will be solved through the mesh, because we can have basically have a provider of fiat rates and also blockchain fee rates that can post to these topics on the mesh. So the fiat rates and the fee rates will be coming in very nicely.
Oh, fantastic. I know that was a question that came up over the last few weeks. Now, before we move on to the next bit, we have 300 people watching this show live. Amazing. Fantastic. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Now, but you need to be active. Send your questions in. If you've got a question about how the mesh network is going to work, if you want to know about the Bison wallet, if you want to know about the market makers, send us a question. It'll be great to hear from you guys. And you know, while we've got why we've got this great brain here. It's well worth kind of getting those questions in. Let's get all of this stuff answered. So if you've got questions, ask away, and we'll try and get them included. Exus, what question do you have about the market makers?
Yeah, so what's going on with the arbitrage bots? I know you guys were working on MEXC. I remember in the last proposal there was something about Kraken and Coinbase. From what I understand, the MEXC stuff is pretty far along. But yeah, maybe if you could speak on that.
The MEXC, I actually didn't review too much about it, but I think the MEXC PR has been merged, and we have Coinbase in, and we have a couple other features that are finished, but we're waiting on some UI updates before we can do the 1.1.0 release. So that should be coming out, and once the 1.1.0 release is out, then we'll have some nice new features in the market making. So one of the new features is two new exchanges is the MEXC and the Coinbase, and multi-hop arbitrage. So right now, like on Binance, there's a DCR USDT market, and then there's no US DCR BTC market, but there's on Binance also a BTC USDT market. So with the multi-hop arbitrage, it will track the prices on both the DCR USDT and the BTC USDT, and then based on that, market make on DCR BTC on the DEX. And then once there's a match on DCR BTC on the DEX, it executes a trade on both of the markets on the Binance, and then you profit. Hopefully. So basically,
Nice.
It extends the range of markets that you can do arbitrage on. And
Nice.
we've also done the bridging. There's going to be bridges for tokens on the EVM chains. So, we have, for example, we have USDT on both Ethereum and on Polygon, and the bridges allow you to switch between those chains, just transfer the tokens from one to another. And so one issue was for market making. Market making, we do automatic rebalance between the centralized exchange and the wallet. But if you're market making on the DEX, and the market maker uses and the market on the DEX is USDT on Polygon, for example, but then maybe Coinbase only allows deposit using USDT on Ethereum, then the market maker will automatically, when you're about to do a deposit, it'll bridge first and then deposit. Or when you're withdrawing, it'll withdraw, then bridge. So it becomes, so once again, the options of markets you can market make on becomes big with these two.
What's the status of Base, the Base integration?
Well,
Not that
Base,
I think. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I don't know if anyone's gonna actually use it, but I think the main incentive to have that is to maybe demonstrate to Coinbase you can use Base to do layer 1 swaps between Base USDC and layer 1 Bitcoin, layer 1 Litecoin. There's a lot of value in that, and they're putting a lot of attention and effort into their Base ecosystem. So, maybe that's a little, segue to get them more interested in DCRED'S, so maybe we can get a US exchange listing.
Maybe. Well,
and we'll go over $100 in value.
Base is pretty simple change, and we should have it in the 1.1.0 release. It's not. It works the same, almost the same way like Ethereum and Polygon.
I would say that I use Base a little bit, not loads, but actually I quite like it. When I'm moving in and out of Coinbase, the fees on Base is zero. You don't have to worry about the gas like you do on Polygon, which I think is absolutely amazing. And the transfers from Coinbase on and off is like 15 minutes on Polygon, whereas on Base it's under a minute. So that's also a massive advantage if you're moving quickly, especially when it comes to market making, I should imagine. So you're not kind of waiting for it to transfer or whatnot.
Yeah.
Just one more question. So if we're getting bridging, for instance, so say for instance there is a, I don't know, a Decred USDT pair, and the USDT side of things is Polygon, Base, Solana, whatever. Will there just be one market that deals with all three of them, or will there still be multiple markets, multiple pairs? Sorry.
Well, with the mesh, you can have whatever market you want. So if people want to do a market on Base, they can do a market on Base, and people want to do a market on Polygon, they do a market with Polygon. It's whatever they want. So I mean, we'll see how it works out. But I mean, it's just like where people, where people join up, which whatever's more popular, I guess, will attract more people. So it's not limited by the server. No.
Yes, but it won't be a combined pair, is what I was trying to say there. So like for instance, if you're trading, I don't know, USDC on Binance or something like that, you literally just have one market, and then at the end it says, hey, do you want it in one of these tokens? So it'll still be, there'll be a USDT, sorry, Decred USDT for Polygon, Decred USDT for Solana, Decred USDT for Base, for instance.
Yeah, because
because
you need to, because if I'm doing an atomic swap with somebody and they have USDT on Polygon, then that's what they're sending me. So the market has to be the same.
So you can't just have one market and grow. It has to be three separate ones. That was something else I didn't quite know.
I haven't really thought about that, but I mean, you could. I mean, it's probably simpler just to have the same one.
Yeah. The only thing I was thinking about, because like at the moment we've got all these pairs and most of them are empty or whatever. But if you've got two kind of USDT and USDC, it kind of fragments the market a little bit. And I was just, and it'll be the same if you've got multiple USDT Decred pairs. If you've got three of them doing exactly the same job, it kind of fragments the market a little bit.
Yeah, but I mean, when you go on like a centralized exchange, and then maybe there's Bitcoin and USDT, and there's also Bitcoin and USDC. Generally, one is pretty dead, and then the other one's everybody's trading on. So probably a similar type of thing will happen.
I suppose I'm guessing though that in actual fact you could just say, right, we're just going to have a USDT, sorry, Decred to USDT on, I don't know, Base, for instance. But then once the swap's over, then you then bridge it into the one you want, don't you?
Yeah,
I suppose is that. Yeah. So that's the way around it. Yeah, got it. It took me about half an hour to get there, but I finally got there. Cheers. Max said Base integration would be huge. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Any other questions from you guys in the audience?
Coming along.
Yeah, can't wait. How about you, Exus? Another thing.
Yeah, the Base would be really cool to see, and maybe that becomes the dominant trading pair. Because like I don't know what's going on with Polygon, and I don't know what people are using mostly. I think Polygon works great. I haven't had any issues with it. I guess we can talk about maybe ways to increase liquidity on the market, because that's kind of the main problem I see with the DEX, and sometimes I'm hesitant to recommend it to people just because I know they're going to show up and there's going to be these big spreads and they're going to maybe not want to trade there. The DCR BTC pair is better, but it's also, you need to do a minimum trade of 40 Decred, which might be too much for people. 40 Decred right now is almost $1,600. That's not nothing. And I think they've done tests on Coinbase where the average user is only buying like $200 at a time. So for power users, for bigger users, $1,600 might not be too much, but for the average guy, it might be too much. So I guess, yeah, what have you guys brainstormed? How do we increase liquidity? How do we increase volume? Because I think that's really the main blocker for the DEX at this point.
Well, regarding the first thing you said about the big lot size, well, actually with the mesh, there's not going to be a set lot size. Like the minimum, the fee that you're willing to accept is something that you configure in your own wallet. So and then you won't be shown orders that will cause you to have a higher fee than that. So, for example, let's say right now, I mean, the reason that the lot size is so big on DCR BTC is because Bitcoin fee can be high, right? So Bitcoin, maybe costs a few dollars to do a trade, and then with the current DCR DEX server, changing the lot size is something somebody has to go in and manually do. But once we don't have this server, and then you manually set in your own wallet the fee you're willing to accept, maybe it's 1%, and then now that the Decred price has gone up, so let's say Bitcoin fee costs $3, and you only want to have a 1% fee, then the minimum lot size for you will be $300. But you could if you don't mind paying more for fees, then you can just increase it. So it's going to be more dynamic. So
Yeah,
that issue won't exist.
But the mesh network, from what I understand, is not close. This is like 1 to maybe 3 years away.
No,
I guess some more.
Well, it'll be quicker than that for sure.
Yeah. But have you guys thought of anything like short term, like things we can change to get the liquidity up within the next 6 months or so?
Well, we were discussing. You guys posted on the proposal to do incentivize liquidity. So we will build a tool where because the problem with incentivized liquidity, obviously, you have to show that you actually put the liquidity, right? So somebody's doing market making, you have to prove that you actually did it. So to build a tool where they can prove that they actually had a certain amount of orders on the books for the whole month or whatever time it is, and then we could do proposal for liquidity incentive.
Yeah, I've been playing around with the idea of creating a proposal for that purpose. I am conscious that obviously we want to make sure we're doing a coordinated effort. So, myself and Exodus don't put up a proposal, and you guys are kind of thinking something different, just to make sure we're all on the same page. But I really like the idea of having that incentive mechanism, especially if people like Hummingbot can tap into it. I mean that could be absolutely huge. And just before you tap in there, I really like the fact that you can set your own fee levels in the client for Mesh. I mean, this is, yeah, I hadn't realized that either. So that's incredible.
Yeah, because you're taking the logic out of the server, so you have more functionality on the wallet side.
I mean, just as a rough estimate, I've got it on my thing here. I mean, personally, I'm hoping that we'll get some kind of mesh prototype before this, or at least by the time this proposal ends. Is that likely? Even if it's not live on mainnet, is it likely that we're going to get some kind of testing environment to have a look at this and go from there, or are we still talking 2 years away?
Well, this proposal we have is for the mesh architecture, and it's coming along pretty nicely, and it'll be good. And but for the actual integration with the wallet, that's going to be another proposal. And once the 1.1.0 release comes out, which should be soon, then Buck will make another proposal for the actual application side stuff. So basically the atomic swap protocol that's come on top of the mesh network, and those two work can basically happen simultaneously. So I mean, I don't want to say any date, but hopefully I think we can do it fairly, hopefully soon.
Yeah, I mean, most of us are kind of, we're on tenterhooks here, and I think we'd love to see something that can be demoed. Certainly, by the time the proposal comes up for renewal, whatever, I think would be absolutely amazing. I mean, it's such a worthwhile project, and I think from a community perspective, we all just want to make sure it's on track and see something that's tangible. I think, but what you've said to us today is absolutely awesome. I love it.
I mean, previous proposals we had like the mesh stuff, and then it kind of mixed in with everything else. But now with this one, like me and then somebody else, people are like completely focused on this. So that's why it's coming along.
Oh, that's good. And I know, I mean, I know it's been a little while now, but I know kind of when Chap JC left, it kind of threw a spanner in the works. So we understand there's been a few hiccups, and I suspect, like Dave C with his Mixnet, you know, there was a few false starts, I should imagine, as well. But it's nice to hear that you guys are kind of on the right path, and it's heading in the right direction. Anything in the comments, Exodus?
Let's see. Base integration would be huge. Leverage their gasless features. Yeah, that would be awesome. In your eyes, does Decred take advantage of the electronic cash trend? Yes, it does. Obviously, layer one cryptocurrency isn't really used as a medium of exchange just yet. I think that's something we really have to work on is getting it to where you can use it to buy things. I know they're working on BTC Pay Server, but they're dealing with the classic. They submitted a PR and the people aren't reviewing it at BTC Pay Server, and it's kind of just stuck. So we'll see what happens. Max says nobody uses Polygon. Well, I don't know about that. Base would give you real liquidity in a culture. Okay, interesting. Literally just reach out to Jesse Pollock and you'll be set up for success. Hey, hey, it looks like Max is giving us great advice. I'm not like super familiar with all the L2s. I use the Polygon and it works fine. But hey, if Base is blowing up, like hey, let's do Base. Why not?
I think, I mean, they all work fine, but like my turn said, you know, the fact is we can set up one pair to deal with Decred to USDT or something, and then you can bridge into the asset that you want. So ultimately, you know, you can have Polygon, you can have Solana, you can have Base. So I think it's all good there. But yeah, I must admit, I do like Base, and I like the fact that they just kind of null and voided all this gas stuff, which I think is absolutely incredible. I had a question for Martin, and I've completely forgot. This is the problem when I get too into stuff. I kind of everything jumbles into one. Market makers. At the moment, if I set up a market maker, I can have dynamic pairs. What I like to say, moving pairs, if you like. So I can set up a market that has, you know, an increment of 1% spreads or something like that. The problem that I have is I quite like having target points. So, for instance, I say, actually, I want to sell my Decred at $200, but I want to buy it at $10, and I kind of want those always on the market. Is there a way that we can have static orders as well as our market maker bots together? I mean, could it be a static order market maker bot or something? I know it's silly. Probably nobody else does this, but I kind of like that.
So you want to you run your bot, but also have like a manual limit order.
Yeah. So just static orders. So for instance, you know, if the market swings dramatically, I can literally get the price that I want when it swings. I doubt anyone but me used it, but I did want to ask if that would be possible.
Well, I mean, we could, like, the market maker infrastructure is there, and actually it's quite easy for anybody to come in and create a new strategy. So, I mean, nobody's working on creating new strategies at the moment, but if any developer wants to come and do a new strategy and implement it, it's actually quite simple work. So, you know, I don't think everybody's busy, but if somebody else wants to do it, like Karambo came and did the Mexi integration. So it's all he has to do is implement the API for the centralized exchange, and it works. And it's kind of similar for some new strategy that anybody would want to implement. So anybody can come and we can just review it and it'll work.
I might give my coding hands a little test, see if I can build that one.
Okay.
All it was is literally because as soon as I put the market maker on, it literally freezes me out from being able to put manual orders on.
Yeah, because we don't want to be conflicting with. I mean, it's like you don't want to self-match basically. So that was the reason for that.
Oh, and actually, that would cause my little thing problem as well, wouldn't it? Yeah, of course it would. Yeah. Thank you for that, though. Thank you for humoring me. We're now at almost 400 people. This has got to be one of our most popular live streams yet. So you guys coming on is creating a real buzz. But out of those 400 people or 387 people, if you've got questions, please ask away. We are coming to the hour point, and Martin said we wouldn't get to an hour. See, these things just carry on, don't they? If you've got questions, ask away before we start closing down. At least we will have the potential Coinbase listings narrative next cycle too. I hope we get onto Coinbase eventually, but I mean, it's not the end of the world once DEX is kind of has full markets and the rest. So anything else? I think I've literally come to the end of mine. We talked about the timeline. Did we talk about the XMR timeline? I know that was hot on your list, Exodus.
Yeah, I mean, it's been in development for I think a year and a half, and I don't know if Martin you work on that. I think it's mainly Joe Gruff and Warrior are handling that. So, but do you have any information on the XMR stuff?
So for XMR, you need a different type of atomic swap. It doesn't work with what we use for every other coin, which is you hash a secret and then you reveal the secret. So, and we're not going to add that to the current DCR DEX server, but I think with the next release there will be just XMR wallet in Bison wallet, but you cannot do trading. But once the mesh is working, then you can actually do trading.
Also, you said about the Bison wallet 1.1. When are we roughly seeing that? And is it going to be before Christmas or after Christmas, do you think?
Hopefully soon. I mean, probably a bit after Christmas.
And that's going to include all the native Electrum wallets for things like Pharaoh and Dash. Is that correct?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
Okay,
is it? I mean, I don't know. I haven't worked on that at all, so I'm not sure. But I don't think so.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of things been added to 1.1.
But there's one nice thing that's coming is because right now if you want to buy Polygon, you already have to have Polygon in the wallet to pay for the fees, right? But there's a way to get around that now, so you'll be able to just buy Polygon or buy Ethereum without already having Ethereum. So that'll be a nice improvement.
Oh, a lot of people when Polygon first come out, a lot of people were like, "Oh, I don't want. How do I get around that?" So that'll please a lot of people. Oh, that's really cool. That pretty much is everything. Is there, Martin? Is there anything that you want to add to that discussion? Just to make, if there's anything you kind of thinking, actually, we should talk about this. But that's pretty much everything that I had on my list.
No, for me, it's everything too.
What about you, Exodus?
Yeah, it was great to have Martin on and talk about the DEX work and the mesh stuff, and a lot of comments here. Just curious, Martin, really quick, are you based out of the U.S.?
Yeah, right now I'm in U.S.
So this is what annoys me so much is we have so many American developers contributing to Decred, and we don't have one U.S. exchange listing. It's so ludicrous. I mean, it just blows my mind. I just wanted, but thanks for answering that. I was just curious. We just have a few more comments here. Do you know how miners perceive DCR? Probably not too well, considering it's only 1% of the block reward going to the miners, but it's fine to mine. It's hybrid proof of work, proof of stake. Kenta says at least we will have a potential Coinbase listing narrative next cycle too. Well, hopefully, I think we have a Coinbase narrative for listing now because Decred is now in the top 100, top 90, and it's ludicrous. You can't buy it on Coinbase. We are witnessing the resilience of the second generation of cash coins, Litecoin, DigiByte, Decred. Yeah, this is more so, the older Lindy effect coins, established layer ones. Money's coming away from the scams and the meme coins and the other junk. So this is good. How did Brazil come upon Decred for the 2022 elections? We used to have a stronger community in Brazil that was quite active. I think they've kind of gone down a little bit. We still have a few really talented developers from Brazil. Victor just released a peer-to-peer Pong betting game, which is really interesting using Schnorr signatures. We should probably demo that for the next live stream. It's pretty interesting.
Oh, definitely.
And then we
I played it on Friday.
And then we have Mateus as another guy from Brazil, really talented. I believe he works on Bison Relay and DECRED'S, which are is the communications platform and the wallet. But yeah, good questions. Yeah, I went through those pretty quick.
So
Yeah,
Decred
I
not
think
being
so.
on Coinbase is bullish because they're scared.
They're absolutely scared. In actual fact, it really did. The fact that we can't get on an exchange has really kind of forced us into the thinking process of building our own. And when all this plays out, that is going to, when it plays out. And I know we've still probably got a few more years, but actual fact, that's huge. Being able to just be completely permissionless is basically what this stuff was meant for. And I think that's one of the reasons I've stuck around for so long is because of what we're building here. And I mean, Dex was definitely a massive part of that. Even to my knowledge now, there's very few people doing it as well as you guys are, and doing it as properly as you guys are. Permissionless, peer-to-peer, and all the rest of it. And I absolutely love it. And thank you so much for coming on today, Martin. That's pretty much it for me. Unless we can hang out for a couple more minutes if there's any decent questions that want to come through. We are going to have Buck on at some point next month, probably early next month, before the Christmas rush and all the rest of it. But we've had an absolutely amazing turnout. So 417 people currently. So one of our biggest shows. The only person that gets more people is Dave C, of course. But yeah, you've been a massive success, and thank you so much for kind of openly and honestly answering our questions. And I've got loads from this, and actually I've probably got a few more questions, but I need to think through them first. But where can people reach you, Martone? Or I know you're kind of in the shadows when it comes to Twitter and things.
Oh yeah, just on the Matrix or on the Bison Relay.
Fantastic. Is there any conclusion? Do you want to just put your final thoughts to the show, and we'll do a sign off?
For me, yeah, I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to be working on the DECs and keep on working and make it a success.
Yeah, you guys are awesome. Go on then, Exodus, sign us out.
Yeah, the DEX, I think Bison Wallet DCR DEX is clearly the best established atomic swap exchange there is. If you look at the other ones, they're pretty rough. So you guys are making atomic swaps work. Yeah, I just wanted to say quickly on the privacy. We had someone ask about privacy. There is going to be a new release. This is what Jake said. Jake Yokampai, the project lead. They are updating the mixing a bit to basically prevent denial of service attacks. Not that these happen, but this is just a prevention thing. And they are going to be reducing the mixing time. So currently mixes happen every 10 minutes, and they're going to be reducing it. My guess is to 5 minutes, but it could be lower. They're also going to be adding in the future the Dandelion++ implementation, which basically hides your IP address when you do transactions. So that's really exciting for the privacy stuff. And they have more things planned, but that's in the short term.
I've just been blown away again. It's crazy. We need Jake on as well. Oh my God, so many people to come on. Thanks, Martone. Thanks, Exodus. We'll see you next month. Thanks, everyone. Great show. Cheers, guys.
Yeah, thanks, guys.